All right guys, Chris Tuttle here. We're gonna go over a few diet mistakes, misconceptions that I believe that a majority of people today kind of make on a regular basis. Now a little bit about my background. Many of you know I'm an IFBB pro. I'm also a dietitian. I have a master's in nutrition and I own my own nutrition business. The majority of my clientele is nutrition and disease, management of diabetes, ulcerative colitis, IBD, IBS, a whole slew of weight loss clients. And of course I also do contest prep, which is my passion as well, but I love helping all people. And I would say, over the last 10 years and the education I've had, I've kind of tried to narrow down like 5 solid misconceptions. I think the biggest one is people choose too extreme diets that are unrealistic to follow and not sustainable over time. People usually want results tomorrow and they expect that, if they gain 10 pounds over a year, they want to lose 10 pounds in a week, but it doesn't work that way. And I think that's the number one biggest problem, because it's kind of like choosing a job that is working 100 hours a week. There's only so long you can work 100 hours a week before you burn out and fall off. So it's kind of setting themselves up for failure. The other one is program hopping. Program hopping is when people don't give one diet a chance for a period of time. They're constantly looking for the new next best thing. And most of the time that rides on motivation, or people believe that motivation is what's required to stay on a plan, when it has nothing to do with motivation. It's discipline in order to carry out what you need to follow in a diet, whether you like to or not. Nobody's motivated all the time. So sometimes program hopping gives them that extra motivation to get started, and then they lose motivation. They want to try something new, that new kind of sparks it. And that's another issue that people have. Stick with one plan, morph it over time to fit you, and base the changes on what's happening with your body with one program. And the other one's lack of consistency, where you see people will, they might have a good stretch for like 4 to 6 days, and they fall off for 2, and they're like, oh, I'll just start back on Monday. And then they go out all crazy for 2 days doing whatever they want. Inconsistency, without consistency, you have nothing. Just like, you can't be going to work for 2 or 3 days, spending money for 3 days, going back 2 or 3 days, you're never gonna get anywhere. Third one's lack of consistency, which I just mentioned, which usually leads into yo-yo dieting, where people will persist on a particular diet for a few days, fall off, feel guilty, and then they'll manipulate the current diet they were following by being more extreme, by cutting more calories to make up for the mistake, which creates this consistency of calories, excess calories, huge drop in calories, creates an appetite, spins out of control, and eventually it's kind of like a big cyclic that keeps happening over and over again. And that's the quickest way not to lose weight or to progress. If you fall off the plan, just get right back on. Don't try to make up for it. You could possibly do a little bit more physical activity, but not going to the gym for an extra hour of cardio and doing it that way. More or less be more active in general throughout the day. 70% of your calories burned in a day is outside the gym anyway. So that's something you want to keep in mind. You don't want to develop a poor relationship with food, because so many people do when they start going into a diet. They hold food on a pedestal and they obsess about it, and then when they have something off plan, they lose control and binge, and then it becomes just this huge cyclic effect. And unfortunately, a lot of people who end up going into dieting and being healthy end up coming out with a very, very poor relationship with food. And the last one I think almost everybody does is have unrealistic expectations of what a nutrition plan is going to provide. Now this kind of stems with society's norm of instant gratification or wanting to be rewarded for your effort. First of all, just in a nutshell, nobody, whatever effort you put forth is never equally rewarded. And people who follow a diet sometimes, they're like, well, I've been 100% for 7 days and I've only lost a pound, it makes me angry. Or they have some sort of expectation where they expected this drastic change in a short period of time for their effort put forth. When they have to realize that there has to be some type of alternative motive to stay on a plan, because once you reach your goal and you're at your weight loss goal, there's no more weight loss to keep you motivated to stay on plan. So it's more or less, everybody says this, and we've been drilling this people for years, it's a lifestyle change. You have to adopt new eating habits to learn to consistently eat that, and that becomes your new pattern of eating. Inevitably, you're always gonna wanna revert back to your old habitual diet from when you were a kid. Everybody will, everybody wants to. That comfort food that your mom made or your family made when you were younger, whether it be peanut butter and jelly or whatever for dinner, your body always wants to revert that. So learning new habits and sticking to a plan is something that you want to try to adopt. And obviously intermittently including some fun foods or cheat foods are fine, as long as they don't go overboard or out of control. So expectations and reality, in my opinion, men, if you're trying to lose weight, anywhere from a pound to 2 pounds per 7 days is completely reasonable. For women, most of the time it's less, unfortunately, 0.5 to 1.5 pounds per week. And obviously the more weight you lose, the slower weight loss will become. It happens with everybody. Well, obviously there's exception to every rule. Some people will lose weight obviously consistently, and some people might have a struggle. So don't compare yourself to others. Your rate of loss is your own rate of loss. And gaining muscle, you're lucky to gain 4 to 8 pounds of muscle per 12 months of being very consistent. You're not gonna put 12 pounds of muscle on in a month. Obviously, if you haven't weight trained ever in your life, you might see a substantial gain in the first year or two, but after that, the same thing with weight loss. The more weight loss you lose, the harder it becomes to lose a little bit more, and the more muscle mass you gain, the harder it is to keep gaining thereafter. So it's not gonna be some continuous linear rate of gain or loss. It never is. So you have to understand that and adjust those expectations accordingly. But just like anything, expectations really, if they're unrealistic, set yourself up for total nosedive and crash. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're getting into. You have to know what to expect realistically. And if there's weeks that you don't lose weight, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. You can't just give up and get frustrated, because it's a lifestyle change. And always go back to the fact that healthy eating, feeling good, feeling well-rounded, increasing quality of life, decreasing rate of inflammatory diseases should be your goal, not just weight loss. Because once you're at that weight loss goal, there's gonna be nothing to keep you on plan. So in closing, the first one is don't choose extreme diets. Choose things that are realistic, that you can follow and sustain over time. 2, don't program hop from one program to the next to the next. Find one that's kind of suitable for you. Stick with it and make slow modifications to fit your needs over time. Lack of consistency, you gotta be consistent. You gotta be consistent at least 85, 90% of the time. And if you fall off, just get right back on plan. Don't just throw to the wolves and I'm gonna start next Monday and so forth. Yo-yo dieting, don't yo-yo diet or try to make up for mishaps by, if you fall off, trying to cut extra calories, doing extra activity, to try to make up for that binge, because you're only gonna create more of a cyclic and develop a poor relationship with food. And the last is unrealistic expectations. Make sure your expectations going into the program are realistic. Really be careful on what you read on the internet, because in reality, more than 80% of information on the internet is completely false or based on opinion or anecdotal evidence. And obviously, as you know, everybody has exceptions to every rule. So when you have the average, the expectations need to be realistic. So those are my 5 nutrition misconceptions. I feel like that everybody should really understand going into any type of nutrition program. So if you want some more information, check out Universal USA for some cool nutrition videos, and one specifically about nutrient-dense breakfasts.